Why couldn't Jacob be here?
Why couldn't Jacob be here? Is a really good way to open the podcast. Hello everyone and welcome to Timey, Wimey New Who Review Episode 2. That almost rhymed in places. Just me and Neve this time because Jacob had plans. And I can't be bothered figuring out how to get Skype to work. And this chair really makes a lot of noises. So I have to not move. Which is difficult because I make a lot of movements.
Have we started?
Yeah, we have started. This is how the show goes.
Yes, well, I thought you were...
Being jokingly, no. This is the most professional podcast on the internet.
Oh, yes.
It's the only Doctor Who podcast on the internet because who would make a Doctor Who podcast? It's some show that no one watches. Apart from like the 8 million people who watched it last week. This episode was The Ghost Monument, but before we get into this episode, it's corrections from last week. Grace was the name of the...
Not Joyce.
Of the character, not Joyce.
In fairness...
I did correct myself halfway through the podcast.
And it does sound very similar.
But then someone else corrected me and I went back to saying Joyce. So, yeah.
We're both shrugging.
Yeah, it was fine, whatever. This episode, it's not much to talk about, I'm going to be honest. Initial impressions. Your overall review, Neve.
I don't know. I'm still undecided on how I feel about it. Obviously, there was good elements, but, like, I don't know.
It happened.
Yes.
And I realised all my notes are on the computer, so...
Well done, Callum.
I have to...
Slow clap for Callum.
Okay. We got the opening theme, which sounds great and looks great, but it's super quick.
It is.
You've got an hour. Spend 2 minutes on the openings, please, because... there was no cold open, so it just went straight into the titles. The titles were super dark and purple. I've described it here as, it looks like that magic goo you used to get as a kid mixed with a lava lamp.
Yeah, it does kind of. I don't know why, but it reminded me of, like, Mercury, even though it wasn't metallic.
Mercury's a good one. Yeah. It was metallic, though.
Was it? It wasn't silver, though. It was, like, purpley and blue and space colours, whatever space colours are.
Yeah, so the episode kind of opens on where it left, and much like every cynical person in the world thought, a ship was going to come out of nowhere and save them. But, like, so we see one ship appear, and then we cut to Ryan waking up from a med pod. But it's only Ryan and Graham on one ship, and then it cuts to, like, Yaz and the Doctor on another ship. But we never see the other ship come and rescue it. It's just kind of like, okay, here's the solution, but we've overcomplicated the solution so that we can have 2 space people in the episode and like 1 minute of tension when the Doctor's ship is crash landing and it's going to crash into them. Don't know who these 2 random guest stars are. I'm just going to call them Space Lady and Spaceman.
No, they never introduced themselves to the Doctor and companions. It was kind of, they just referred to, they knew who each other were and they kept saying their names to each other, but I cannot for the life of me remember.
I can't remember who they are, and all I knew was their kind of family. Yeah. Anyway, so the Doctor's on one ship, the Doctor and Yaz are on one ship that's fallen to pieces, and then Graham and Ryan are on the other ship, and there's talking. Then the Doctor has to jettison the ship that they're on. They have to jettison the back half of the ship. I can't remember if there was someone else in a status pod that they had to drop off the ship.
No, there wasn't.
What were they talking about when he was like the guy was like, I don't want to jettison the back half of the ship.
No, it was going on about the ship that he had being famous and people admiring the ship and it being like a sort of an icon or something.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like you had an opera star in the back of the boot.
No, this is what they were talking about. And then the Doctor was like, I've never heard of this ship. I have no clue what you're talking about. This thing's ancient. It's falling apart.
Okay. Anyway, so basically you find out that the planet's moving. Something that never gets explained.
Yeah,
it's off its orbit. And?
So, like, why? There's no explanation.
If it's off its orbit, then that planet would be tearing itself to pieces. If Earth got knocked off its orbit, we'd be buggered.
Yeah. Plus, there's the whole reason why.
Yeah.
The only reason I can think of why a planet would be knocked off its orbit would be if there was a black hole
Or hit by a very big thing.
Or hit by a very big thing. But if it was hit by a very big thing, then there'd be a whole lot more evidence.
Yeah. Speaking of evidence, this episode has a lot of clues that lead to nothing. Okay, anyway. Graham and Ryan's ship is fine, so they get to the planet. Even though they're a bit annoyed that they think the Doctor and Yaz are dead, and the Doctor and Yaz think that Graham and Ryan are dead. Oh, the tension! Apart from the fact that we can see both sides of this, so no tension. Nice location shooting in Africa. They land on an alien planet. This is the Africa shoot. It's very pretty. I spent money on it. At least it's not Saudi Arabia. That's good in my book. It's not like the last time they went location shooting where they went to a place where the head writer literally couldn't go because he would be outlawed for being gay. Well done, Dr. Hill. I mean, they've also shot on location in America, but whatever. They land on the planet. Meanwhile, Doctor and Yaz are still trying to crash land the ship. They almost crash land into Graham, Space Girl, and Ryan. But they learnt from the Prometheus school of running away from things and run straight line in the path of the ship.
But in fairness, they were in a ditch.
Like the shallowest ditch I've ever seen.
At least they made an attempt at giving a reason to why they were all running forward.
Anyway, yeah. So then they all meet up and are like, oh, you're here. You're here. Look, we've got bonuses. I'm angry. You're angry with me. Meanwhile, the gang are like, hey gang, we're all alive.
It's never explained what a flipping bonus is.
Yeah, it's just sci-fi nonsense. Like, there is no intent in this episode to write a story that makes any sense. It's just kind of there. I'll get into that later. They walk a bit. They find a ruddy tent, which
it's just a hologram tent.
Yeah, it's just a hologram tent. There's a hologram man inside, and every time you're about to criticise the show for doing something dumb or like a really obvious thing, the characters make that joke. That doesn't mean that this show is clever. Like, it's like when the doc's like, "What's that?" and the guy goes, "It's a tent." It's like, yeah, that's funny for like a second, but whatever. Yeah, anyway, they go into the tent and there's a hologram guy, is like, hello, welcome to the final stage of the race. Your job is to get to the ghost monument. And the Doctor then gets really antsy about this guy. And then it's like, hey...
Understandably, though.
Yeah, I want to please tell me what's going on. I want to know what's going on. Let me know what's going on. What's the ghost monument? What's it look like? What's it look like? What's it look like? It looks like a TARDIS.
Well, to be fairly honest, like, from the description, you kind of go, what else could it be other than the TARDIS? From the audience and probably from the Doctor's point of view. So she's probably just wanted to confirm her own suspicion.
I still wanted like a storyline where they have to keep on searching for a TARDIS. I know a lot of people are like, that sounds dumb. But...
No, I agree completely. Like I said last week, I would have liked it, honestly, if they spent a little bit more time on Earth before they got catapulted into space.
We'll be there for 2 more episodes next time.
It's interesting having the dynamic of the Doctor without the TARDIS. There's been obviously periods of time before where the Doctor, has lost their TARDIS for 1 episode or whenever they've not wanted to use the
2
TARDIS.
seasons.
However, I think it's interesting, especially if it's a new Doctor, because that's where the new Doctor finds a lot of themselves. And then it's like extending that period of the Doctor trying to figure out who they are. Yeah.
I mean, like, it's fine. They originally said they were going to be standalone episodes, but so far we've had 2 interconnecting episodes with a hint at at some sort of overarching theme and an overarching villain. So thanks, Triple, for lying to us about it being standalone stories, because this is not standalone. I don't think they understand what the meaning of standalone means. Sorry, back
at least we have a creepy new monster. It's not like it's just something completely like rehashed. It's something new.
But are they creepy though?
I think they're creepy. The teeth are flipping creepy.
Get into it later. Anyway, so I write down here that it's Death Space Race, but it's not Death Space Race, but it kind of is. Capaldi seems to like take these really generic ideas for a sci-fi story, doesn't write the sci-fi, just kind of writes the basic setup, like they're on a planet, things happening, action scene, action scene, action scene, and then fills in all the gaps with dialogue, which has nothing to do with the sci-fi plot. It's just an excuse to put the characters in a new room to talk to each other. But like as I said, like suddenly I realised, oh, they don't get to kill each other. So how did all the other contestants all die? I guess they just get put on dangerous planets. They're on a planet with the water is super dangerous and the night is super dangerous. They find out that the ghost monument's the TARDIS, so the Doctor and the gang decide to run after the two people in the race to get to the TARDIS.
I think they could have definitely done something more interesting with the water, because it was kind of just a thing. Oh, don't touch it, and excuse to use the boat.
Scam. Oh, it's flesh eating.
It would have been more interesting to sort of explore that, I think.
Yeah, just you set something up that has no payoff. It's just like, okay, you could have just said that they needed the boat because the boat is the quickest way to get there. Job's done. Bob's your uncle. Move on. Yeah, Graham's dialogue here is pretty great. Graham's great. He's great. Companions discuss about the Doctor being able to save them or not. Meanwhile, the Doctor's getting into an argument with the two space people, and then the Doctor uses basically just magic to paralyse one of them.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I know paralysed. It's like, okay, cool. I've noted here there's also like a scene where the Doctor's classically name dropping, like, hey, those glasses belong to either
Audrey Hepburn
or Pythagoras. See, my head, of course, I picked on the Pythagoras. I didn't pick up on the first name. Yeah, that's kind of.
But they were definitely Audrey Hepburns. They weren't going to be Pythagoras.
No, they're going to be Pythagoras.
You think he wears cat eye glasses?
Yeah, I do. Anyway, Graham and Ryan on the boat decide to have a conversation about Grace. But like Ryan tells off Graham for talking too much, and Graham tells off Ryan for not talking enough. And then Ryan figures out it's a battery that's powering the boat, not an engine that's powering the boat. So they figure out that it needs sunlight, so they realign the solar panels or something.
They don't actually explain what they did.
No, they don't. It's just another scene for them. It's just another location for them to sit and talk in.
To be honest, they could have done that episode in half the time, and it probably would have been better because the pacing would have been better. I think the reason, it's sort of a difficult episode, at least for me to judge, is because it was so drawn out and it could have been condensed a lot more.
I love Classic Who, and Classic Who had episodes, like all of its episodes are way too long for the plots they're actually for. However, usually dialogue scenes add something towards a really long, overdone plot. Here, instead of there being scenes of dialogue that continue towards a plot, it is just characters talking to each other about things. I'm just bored. I was like, oh, I'm falling asleep now, and then the Doctor literally tells everyone to fall asleep. Spaceman tells a moody story about him being a kid, and his mum telling him to climb up a tree and then to jump off, and then she stepped out the way instead of catching him, and he broke his arm and his leg, and he learned not to trust anyone. And the Doctor's like, oh, but you gotta trust people because we're better together. And I was like, boring.
I thought that was sad though. It did explain why he was like that, and from the build of what they did mention, which was very little, about where they were coming from, it made sense.
Yeah.
But again, there was a little bit of information, but just if they'd given like a couple more facts, it would have been really interesting, and there would have been really something there to sort of go off of. But
so as far as I can tell, based on the things that we learn about the planets are being cleansed or attacked by something. So people
the same thing as.
That's a reveal later on.
Oh well, this is a podcast. This is like a.
Fine, okay. So the Stenza are attacking planets, and they need to take part in a race to get off the planet. Or to get money to get off the planet. There's 209 planets in this game. It's like a race between you get started on one planet, you have to get to all the different planets. It's a really cool premise. I want to see like a 6-parter set within this game. That's like great. That in Classic Who, if this was a Classic Who story, that would be an entire arc of a season where the Doctor gets involved in this race and has to race like the Ghost Monument would have been like a 6, like maybe 9-story arc where the Doctor gets involved in this race because they figure out that the TARDIS is the prize and they've got to get there. I'm writing this for myself. Yaz doesn't like her family because she says even though she hates them, she misses them. But I don't think she hates them in like a way it's a horrible family. I just think she gets bored by them.
No, I think her family is just a typical family, you know.
Just a bit rubbish.
Yeah, just
a bit lame. They eventually come across some ruins, which looks like an American drive-through.
Yeah, it kind of looked like, you know, like a, I don't know, like an 80s style, you know, like leisure centre or something.
Do you know what it looked like to me? It looked like a location from Cars.
Yeah.
The movie made by Disney.
I don't really like that kind of architecture personally.
I have a really guilty pleasure for that kind of architecture. American art, like weirdly 80s Art Deco stuff.
Art Deco is different from whatever that is.
Not Art Deco, but like I don't know what to describe it as. What if someone knows the style of like American 80s like drive-throughs and like what Cars looks like and like things with like white outlines around. I like it. I wish I could live in a place like that. I said here it has a bit of a classic Who and new Who kind of mix feeling, but only classic Who because it's super long and slow, but not because it's trying to tell a sci-fi story. It's just trying to tell a character story. So you walk into these ruins and everything's okay apart from the giant red laser that the guy misses. It's super obvious and you would have totally seen walking up the stairs. But then there's hooded robo guys with guns. The Doctor's being confused by everything, and like the robots aren't attacking anyone until Spaceman decides to shoot at them, and then they all start shooting. But they've got Stormtrooper aim.
Yeah.
But the Doctor tries to say, "Run side to side. They can't hit you if you run side to side." Which, I mean, based on video games, that works. Don't know if that works in real life.
Who knows? You've never been in the situation to have to figure that out for yourself.
Not yet, anyway. They escape into like a shooting range, and the Doctor tells Ryan not to pick a gun because she's being moony and moany about guns again. And then Ryan just picks up a gun and goes commando.
In fairness, though, that's like one of the Doctor's things is no
since,
guns.
Like some random period that the since New Who it is, like I could show you a montage of the Doctor using guns back in the classic show.
I like the no guns thing. I think it definitely adds something to it, and it's giving like a learning point for Ryan so that, you know, he's learning not to be so, like, not to prejudge stuff and not to think that he knows more than he does.
The Doctor multiple times
he's still like a teenager.
The Doctor multiple times in this episode. There's things where she lets people do their own thing, only to go, "Hey, I had a solution all along," which is what she does here, where Ryan goes off being commando, feels like amazing, then realizes they all get back up again, runs back in. The Doctor goes, "You picked up the wrong thing, Ryan. You've got to use the EMP pulse that you definitely know how to do because you're human." Bog off, Doctor. Get off your righteous horse.
But to be fairly honest, at their age, they are more than entitled to.
No, they're not. No, they're not entitled to do this.
Like that.
No, there's a difference between Sylvester McCoy lying to people to be a bit of a bastard, and like Jodie just being like, "Oh, you've got to think around the problem," and like it's almost worse than Tennant doing it. If she does it again next episode, I'm just gonna slowly hurt. It's just gonna.
But like, in fairness,
it's gonna keep happening.
This Doctor is like a Doctor that most people who like Tennant should like as well.
I was watching other people's opinions pieces about the new season. I'm like, it's the safest thing in the world. Like, Chabal has actively looked at what people liked from the Moffat era, what people liked from the Russell T Davies era, seen the Russell T Davies era as more popular, and just wrote the best approximation of that looks a little bit different. It's like the safest possible option, and it just bores me. And this episode especially was just so safe. Nothing happened. Anyway, the Doctor finds some clues off the robot after causing an EMP. They find a thing in the floor and go down it. The tunnels seem to be a shortcut to save Jabal from writing more plot. The Doctor finds a bunch of clues for nothing, and they keep on talking, and the spaceman goes to sleep and is about to get attacked by cloth.
Yeah, it looks like, I don't know, it looks like mummy bandages.
Yeah.
That are possessed and flying about. Those aren't even explain whether are they, like...
They're bioweapons.
But then what are they? If they're bioweapons, what are they? They're just like... I don't know. Like,
I don't know, because the guy was asleep, right?
The only things that came into my head would be like weird psychic flatworms.
Yeah, like they're like
float.
So like, the guy gets attacked because he's going to sleep, right?
No, it was because he was injured. The Doctor said they're picking off the injured.
Oh, okay.
First.
I didn't hear that bit. I was falling asleep, to be honest.
Well.
Anyway.
I did.
Eventually, they find some writing on the floor that explains what the planet is. It's basically a weapon testing facility where they kidnapped scientists and made them make weapons, and turns out to be the Stenzar, or the Stenza, or the Stenzi, or the Stenzar, whatever they're called. Stenzar. There's Stenzar behind it. Oh dear! And I've wrote lots of notes very angrily about lying, being lied to, about standalone stories of no overarching plot, because so far that's all we're getting.
Yeah.
We get a line from Graham about his wife being murdered by the Stenzar, and then the Space Lady says mine too, so Space Lady is a lesbian Space Lady. This is like very T. Davis, just throwing in a throwaway gay character into an episode. But it's not I'm not critiquing it, I'm just pointing out this happened a lot in the T. Davis era. So, just saying. Again, so I've put the note here. So right, the Stenzar's like this new big threat, right? They're not scary.
I think they're menacing and creepy. I don't know whether they're necessarily scary coming face to face, especially the way Tim Shaw was introduced.
Exactly.
Because he's not...
Tim Shaw is turned into a joke.
Yeah. But I kind of feel like, hopefully, if they play the cards right, that's going to be, a way of dealing with it for now, but whenever they come back, it's going to be pretty... it's
the problem is they've introduced their new Daleks, but they've already made the joke out of them. Like when the Daleks were originally introduced, they're pretty damn scary, and like even though the Doctor eventually wins the first fight, the next time you see them, they are just destroying Earth.
I have to disagree. I definitely think that they're not as scary. Like whenever Tim Shaw came onto Earth, he just killed people who just got in his way. I think that's pretty creepy, especially because you didn't know what was behind the mask, and then the teeth thing is just gross.
For me, it's a bit tame. Like they didn't show a lot. It was all done off screen, like him taking the teeth out, him freezing the person was kind of just like a. Like okay, yeah, I've seen worse in episodes of Doctor Who. I get like you're trying to be family friendly, and I get that. But it's like, to me, they're not... that's just me, because I'm used to watching scarier stuff.
I know, but, like, I don't really like horror as a thing, and sometimes I personally find that what you don't see is scarier than what you do see sometimes.
That is true, but this is not Texas Chainsaw Doctor Who. So basically, the layout of the both episodes so far have been dialogue, action, dialogue, action, dialogue, action, with no explanation where the action came from. Ryan seems to have a fear of climbing ladders when the robots that were disabled but now aren't disabled cut off the life support of the tunnels from the upside to force them out of the tunnels. But the Doctor kind of gives this great speech about, hey Ryan, you're pretty great. You've come over all this stuff to get here. Keep going. I'm proud of you. I'm your mum now. That's my role in this. And they enter into like a gas field, but then they get attacked by cloth monsters that don't attack them. They just kind of run around saying things, and then the Doctor's like, start digging with your feet while I distract them with talking.
Definitely interested though to what they meant about the timeless child.
Right. Yeah, again, this is like hinting at new lore last season we had not last season. The season before we had the hybrid. We've had the last of the Time Lords. We've had the Doctor being the other. We've got it's just okay. I just hoped for a season that the Doctor wouldn't. I don't know. Basically, I feel like someone was marketing the show wrong, because I've heard it wasn't going to be lore heavy and it wasn't going to have an overarching story. And so far, we've had 2 overarching episodes which have had a new villain that overarches and hints at lore. I just feel like I've been lied to. I'm so hurt.
But this is why I'm kind of glad that I didn't really look into it, because then I'm not disappointed in that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so then the Doctor decides to blow everything up with cigars, because guns, no go. But explosions, that's fine.
Yeah, I was actually thinking before she set off the EMP, I was just like, okay, she's going to make some sort of explosion or something. So guns bad, explosions
okay,
good,
yeah.
Bombs good, because again Tim Shaw had bombs.
Yeah,
she likes bombs. It's
anyway,
gonna be a thing now.
So they drop to the floor because the gas is lighter than air.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a scientist. Jacob is a scientist. If Jacob was here, I'm sure he would have a problem with this. Let me just message him. Did the gas thing make science sense? See if I get a response to that. Anyway, then they just kind of end up at the finish line. The TARDIS isn't there. The Space Lady and the Spacemen want to both win, and Doctor's like, I've got this really, really, really weird idea, right? What if you cross the finish line together? I'm like, yeah, that's not going to work though, is it? Because he's just going to... The evil hologram man's just going to be an evil hologram man. So the evil hologram man's an evil hologram man and tries to call off the race. And then Spaceman threatens him. And that's enough to convince him not to do it.
I know, I was a bit confused. Is he known for being vicious outside, within the circle of their, culture? Do they know him as someone who's not very nice?
If he's a hologram, surely he's somewhere secure. He set up this race. I'm not sure that 2 people are going to come after him and find him. How are they going to get off the planet? He knows they can't get off the planet.
Well, in fairness, the Doctor was like, oh, my ship's, that's my ship. We can get off on my ship.
Anyway.
So they get off on the ship. They would get off on the ship with the Doctor.
Jacob has messaged me back saying yes and no, but mostly no.
Okay, well that answers that question. So the
gas thing doesn't make any sense. It kind of makes sense. Anyway, so then the Space Lady can't pronounce the word pay. She says pay in a really weird way. She's like, you're going to pay. You're going to pay for this. And you're like, what's going on? Anyway, so the hologram man's like, alright, fine. So Space Lady and Spaceman gets zapped away. The gang is left on the alien planet. The Doctor's like, oh no, I've failed you because the TARDIS ain't here. And I'm like, yeah, the TARDIS is going to be turning up behind you in a minute, yeah. We got a few scenes to go to kind of no, we can do this, Doctor. We survived this long.
In fairness, I do think it's nice though that the encouragement is coming from
the gang.
From the gang, because usually it's the Doctor going don't give up hope. We'll be fine. I'm here. We'll sort this, whatever. But because the Doctor's so new, she's not sure of herself, because she knows what they've been in the past, how things have happened in the past, but it's all shaken up now, and, it is within her rights to doubt, and the fact that, they rally around her was really sweet. I thought it was really sweet. And it's nice. It's going to build up a nice dynamic. And personally, I love the dynamic between all of the companions. Even though, yes, sometimes when they're talking, it's not maybe the best time to be just discussing these random things. But people do that in weird situations.
It is well-written dialogue. It's just I kind of wish I had me some sci-fi. Anyway, the TARDIS survives, and then the Doctor does sonic magic to make it land. And then we get to see the new TARDIS interior.
Yeah.
But before that, the Doctor has a great line.
The funny thing was, I was just like, why don't you just wave a key at the TARDIS? It knows the key. And then whenever she went up to it, she's like, I've lost my key. And I was like...
The Doctor has some great lines here.
Like,
come to Daddy.
That makes sense, because at least it means that they've not forgotten about the key.
Come to Daddy. And then she goes, wait, no, Mummy.
Yeah, no, that was great.
The Doctor's like, I've missed you. I'm sorry. I love you. I'm like, okay, so Chibble must have loved the Doctor's wife quite a bit. Yeah, so that dynamic's back. Then we get to see inside. You talk about how you feel about this new TARDIS, then I'm going to have a 5-minute rant about everything I hate about this TARDIS.
Calm down. Okay. I personally think it's I like it, personally. And I know you don't agree. I know you don't. But there are some really fun elements within there.
It has one cool thing.
Shush. Okay? Like, the sort of main... Like, the first thing I noticed was that, like, the entranceway is, like, the full... TARDIS interior, full phone box interior, and I really like that. It brings more light into sort of the entranceway, and it makes more sense. You know what I mean? It makes more sense than just opening the two doors into this.
It's slowly been getting that bit of the TARDIS has been slowly getting bigger.
Yeah.
So like in the T. Davis here it was just a door.
Yeah.
Then in the first Moffat TARDIS, it was a bit more.
Yeah.
Then in the second Moffat TARDIS, it was like half of it.
Yeah.
And now I've got the full box.
I really honestly like it. It brings some really nice lighting into it, especially when she walked in for the first time, and then it was like the contrast between the colours of the inside of the phone box bit, and then whenever they came into it. And it's quite like, I don't know, like the inside almost reminds me of like sort of like chainmail or something, you know, like that kind of like interlinking.
It's a really weird grid.
It is weird, but I think it's really interesting because we've not seen anything like it, but it's still the same kind of gridded. There's still the
It's not the right shape.
Look,
It's not. Okay, I'm not.
different.
Doctor Who can change, but the TARDIS roundels have to stay the same shape. I'm sorry,
Anyway.
they're roundels for a reason.
Anyway, then it has sort of like an inner circle, and I like how it's all like it's more level, so like people aren't gonna go falling over railings. I was always terrified of people falling over railings, and now no one's gonna fall over railings.
I like the levels.
No, I think the levels are definitely interesting, but like I was always terrified that like someone was gonna just like go flying over, because we know that the TARDIS isn't the most stable place to be in. At least there's a nice flat floor, because I feel like with the amount of clumsiness that tends to be within this particular group dynamic, there would be falling over, and we don't want people to fall and hurt themselves in the character sense. And then obviously it has sort of this inner piece with the hexagonal glass, which I really liked. I really liked that, to be honest, because it sort of gave this magnified, you know, light diffusion, and there's bits of blue in there which I really liked, and it echoed those. And personally, the crystals look great to me. Maybe it's just because I'm interested in like geology and gemology and stuff like that. But stop staring at the door.
Nothing, it's fine. It's just that there's going to be some flatmate sound in the back. Anyway, now I'm going to go on my mini rant about how much I hate this TARDIS.
I haven't even finished. I didn't even talk about the hourglass. I thought that was
Keep going,
great.
but I have a lot of complaints.
I like the console, and I like it. It's got this sort of like, I don't know, this gritty, steampunky yet sort of like dystopian, futuristic feel to it, and I like that kind of thing. And I like the colours. I like it. I really like it personally. I think it's really different. It's a really interesting way to go, and yeah.
Okay, mini rant time. This TARDIS is absolutely horrid.
No, it's not.
It's too small. So
it's not small. It's just made to feel more like
It's got so many metal structures around it that it makes it feel like a smaller TARDIS, and I hate the TARDIS feeling small. It looks like the Tennant TARDIS. The Tennant TARDIS is what, like, until this TARDIS, the Tennant TARDIS has been my least favourite TARDIS, and I hate it looking small. The console room can look small as long as you can see that there are doors and corridors elsewhere. If you compare it to the 11th Doctor's TARDIS, it has stairways, it has corridors off going all over the place. It's got a beautiful open space and lighting, and it's a weird design. I love it. It's my favourite TARDIS. The original TARDIS room has doors that you can definitely see people going through.
Mm-hmm.
So you feel like there's more to it. This TARDIS, I can't tell you how you get to the costume cupboard. It's like Tennant's TARDIS. That you see the console room and you see the wardrobe, but you do not know how they got from one to the other because there's no corridors. There's no corridors.
In fairness, though, we didn't see like the entirety of the room. We only saw like 1 or 2 angles.
Yeah, from what I've seen, I don't like it. The console isn't too bad. It's fine. It has a custard cream dispenser. Therefore, I want one.
It's redeemable.
It's redeemable. Barely. And it's got some... I think the hourglass and the spinning crystal TARDIS is really dumb.
No, I like them.
Okay, the hourglass, fine. The spinning crystal TARDIS...
Yeah, that's pushing it.
Just pays lenience to what I'm going to compare it to in a minute.
That's pushing it, but I liked the hourglass.
The crystal stuff makes it look like a really rubbish short Fortress in Solitude. It doesn't even have a uppy-downy thing. It needs an uppy-downy thing. All TARDISes need an uppy-downy thing. It doesn't have an uppy-downy thing, unless those crystals shift up and side down. And that doesn't look good. No, all TARDISes got to have an uppy-downy thing. All TARDISes need an uppy-downy thing. It's fact. It needs roundels and an uppy-downy thing.
Mm-hmm.
This TARDIS has neither of those things. And it needs to make it look weird and new. I guess it looks weird.
I think we need to see more interactions, the lighting and more interactions of the people within the TARDIS to sort of see how the dynamic is within the space. You know what I mean?
It looks like the Fortress of Solitude. But looking at this picture I've got in front of me right now, do you know what it looks like? Have you ever seen the Crystal Maze?
Mm.
You know the end of the Crystal Maze where there's a big crystal in the middle?
Mm-hmm.
It looks like the Crystal Maze.
Okay. You don't have to prove this
No,
to me.
it does, because...
No, I understand where you're coming from, but you don't have to, prove this to me. I understand.
Like anyway, yeah.
It doesn't
It's a really dumb TARDIS. Jacob doesn't like it either, so you're outvoted.
What?
Yeah.
That is unfair. That is unfair.
I can't really stand it. If I was in charge of Doctor Who and someone came to me with that idea as a TARDIS, I go, what have you on? Get out of here! Get out of here! I guess, I don't know, maybe it's to save space and budget, but it just looks really naff to me. I would much rather have something much more in the style of the Series 5 TARDIS or the movie TARDIS, or even, I don't know, just something that's not this. I don't know, I'm very particular about my interiors.
Yes, I can tell this.
I'd rather have the really Varney's TARDIS than this. Oh, God. It's not it. I can't decide if it's better or worse than Tennant TARDIS.
See, the thing is that I liked the David Tennant TARDIS.
Of course you did.
What's that supposed to mean?
It's because people like the Tennant era, and I still can't understand it. I've been trying to get my head around it for years, how people can enjoy the Tennant era of Doctor Who, and I just can't. Mm-hmm. We've only been talking for 40 minutes. Next week, Rosa Parks episode.
Yes. Yes.
Is it really bad if I told you I don't know who Rosa Parks is?
Okay, so Rosa Parks is
Is she female like Martin Luther King?
She stood up against the social conventions. She basically they had certain places where there was obviously division,
segregation.
Yeah, segregation. And, between, white people and black people. And in the bus, they had to sit in certain areas. I can't remember whether it was the front or the back, but she chose to sit in a different spot in the bus where supposedly it was only supposed to be only whites. And she was basically completely forgotten about by history up until maybe 5 years ago or something, when, people were it wasn't just these other people that stood up against segregation.
So
she was
she's
involved
secret female Martin Luther King.
Kind of.
Who's been forgotten in time, and now they're doing a Doctor Who episode about her.
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. I think
she's not been completely forgotten. Because now there's a statue of her.
I think that's
somewhere.
also shot in Africa. That episode. I think they shot that episode in Africa too, and then it. Yeah, I think I could be wrong about that. Yeah, it looks fun. It's got the actress who's playing Rosa Parks was in the first Christopher episode of Doctor Who. It's forgettable and rubbish. It's the one where Martha goes on the space station and have got to answer riddles and questions to get the space station's blowing up or something, and people are slowly becoming like eye-shining zombies, and then like Martha has to answer some questions, and then she phones her mum because she needs an answer to a classic 80s trivia song question.
I don't remember that one.
Yeah, it's because it's really rubbish.
I remember most of them. I don't remember that one.
It's because it also is super familiar. It's super similar to the episode about the Ood, and it's also super similar to the episode about the guy who gets all the marks on him.
Yeah.
They're all really similar. It's a bit like the Space Under Siege of the classic era, but instead it's space station blowing up because evil stuff.
Okay, I'll have to look that up because I do not remember that
really
at all.
Rubbish. Anyway, so she was in that episode, and now she's going to be in... I can't remember the actress's name, and I can't be bothered Googling it. Yeah. Overall, this episode was 4 out of 10. I fell asleep. It'd be nice to get a break from Jabul next week and have a guest writer in, which is nice to know we're getting a guest writer. Yeah.
I do like whenever they visit like historical figures, whenever they not humanize them, but like whenever they make you go, okay, these people aren't any different from the average person. They just chose to do something a little different, and you know, it's only in hindsight that it's really seen to be as big as it is. Do you know what I mean? And I do like that because then it's sort of bringing it back to like a personal level.
I miss the pure historicals. So you know what a pure historical is?
No.
Where the only sci-fi element is the fact the Doctor's in it, and the TARDIS is what gets them there. There were no monsters. There were just pure historical episodes.
To be honest, though, one of my favourite historical episodes is the one with Vincent van Gogh. I really like that one.
Vincent the Doctor is one of the best episodes of Doctor Who.
Yeah,
it's on my top 10 lists of modern Who episodes.
So I'm hoping it's going to be along the lines of that one. I'm really honestly excited to see this and where they take it with Rosa Parks.
If it was a pure historical, which we know it's not because we saw a laser gun, I'd kill.
Did we see a laser gun? I don't know.
We saw a laser gun in a teaser trailer, which we got this week instead of like a coming soon to Doctor Who, every single guest star member ever that you don't care about apart from that one guy who's sort of famous. Whose name is Cummings, so you get to laugh at that. Yeah. Join us next time when we travel back to somewhere in America in a certain time and we meet a person called Rosa Parks, because I can't think of anything else to talk about before the episode ends. You got anything to talk about before the end of episode of Doctor Who?
You can't put me on the spot. I'm not...
Well, my other option was that we're going to do top 10 episodes of Modern Who, and that'd be even more on the spot because you'd have to come up with 10 episodes on the spot, which isn't fair.
No, I know which ones I know which ones are memorable to me.
Right, we'll do then. Before we go, then
memorable episodes.
We'll do top 10 episodes of Modern Who.
Are we doing top 10 or just memorable episodes?
Well, I've got top 10 because that's what I put on Twitter earlier.
Oh, for goodness sake. But no, definitely, I really, really loved the Vincent one. It was just really interesting, like the way that they sort of talk about his mental health and, you know, the way he sees the world, like his perception and just the whole. It was just, I don't know. I just loved it.
It's number 2 on my no particular order best 10 episodes Doctor Who.
Okay.
Modern Who, obviously.
Yeah.
So I have the 11th Hour, Vincent and the Doctor.
I'm really bad with names. You have to sort of give me a quick overview.
Right. So 11th Hour is the first.
I remember the Pandorica opens. That you can't really not remember.
11th Hour is the first episode of Matt Smith.
Okay.
Vincent and the Doctor.
Oh yeah.
Pandorica opens. The Impossible Astronaut is the first episode of the second season of Matt Smith.
Yeah, I remember that one.
With the astronaut that shoots the Doctor. The Doctor's wife is when a TARDIS becomes a woman.
Yes.
The pilot is the first episode of last season with Bill.
Oh, yeah.
The Doctor Falls, The World Enough in Time is the season finale of that season. The Cyberman. Bill becomes a Cyberman. The Doctor dies.
Yeah. No, I didn't like that one. Sorry.
Amy's Choice, which is the episode where the Doctor meets the Dream Lord.
Mm-hmm.
And
that was a good one.
Yeah. And then, because I've realised that all my episodes were Moffat era episodes, I chose 2 that weren't Moffat era: Science in the Libraries and Forest of the Dead.
That one was really good.
But thinking about it, I only really like Science of the Libraries, and I'm not a big fan of Forest of the Dead. And Blink.
Mm.
And if I'm not wrong, they're all Moffat episodes. Let me check.
But what was I going to say? No, I did like that one. I just like
Stephen Moffat.
Yeah,
nearly all of my episodes have been written by Stephen Moffat.
The Silence in the Library one. I'm trying to remember. It was Donna that was with the Doctor then, wasn't it?
It's the one downside about that episode.
I personally like Donna and the Doctor.
I don't mind that dynamic. It's just that all of her episodes suck. Mostly.
Okay.
And I think like Forest of the Dead, which is the episode where Donna is in the simulation thing, just broke how scary the first episode was.
Mm.
First episode's super scary, but the second episode kind of lets it down. It's like with the Impossible Astronaut and Pandora Opens.
Mm-hmm.
I've only put the first episodes down as things I like because their second parts let them down.
Mm-hmm.
So I love the Pandora Opens. The cliffhanger's great, but it's just everything that happens after it sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Impossible Astronaut is great, but the follow-up episode's also great, but
excuse me.
In hindsight, it's more problematic than it's any good. Like all the things that were hinted at didn't ever pay off, and the Doctor making people kill the Silence on sight is a really dumb thing. It's a thing you do, but it's really dumb.
Why is it dumb? How else was he going to get around it?
Because he's basically making people commit genocide without them knowing.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's my problem.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, yeah, so that was a fun... They were my top 10 episodes of Modern Who, because I do like Modern Who sometimes, just not often. That's to be fair, I do have like 2 of the worst episodes of Doctor Who ever made on my shelf.
Which are?
Time Lash and The Two Doctors. Both Colin Baker episodes. They're known for being awful.
Mm-hmm.
They are pretty bad. Anyway, yeah. Is there anything else we can talk about to stretch this episode length out so that Jacob has more time to waste editing it?
Is this the literally...
On that bombshell. No, I'm not allowed to steal that. I'm not stealing that anymore. Yeah.
I cannot talk like a normal...
I can't remember how we ended the episode last time.
Hmm?
Jacob said some really rubbish line, and that was the end of the episode.
I
Whatever it was, the thing that Jacob said last week.
Just like edit in.
See you next. See you next who or next time or whatever.
Anywho.
It
was anywho.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll be here next time.
No, not anyway.
Anywho, we'll be here next time, and Jacob might be back, and he owes me a takeaway, so he better be. Goodbye. Say bye.
Why?
Because you've got to say goodbye. That's how a thing works.
Okay, fine. Bye all.